Welcome back. And now we're moving on to a different topic, looking at the Igbo agenda and the unanswered questions of Abuja versus the Homeland. The Igbo agenda remains one of the most debated issues in Nigeria. And, we know that while many Igbo leaders play prominent roles, we have issues of Homeland struggling with issues of poor infrastructure, brain drain, social unrest, and the likes. Now, with us in the studio this morning is Professor Chidozie Chukwuokolo. He's a professor of philosophy and philosophy of development at Ebonyi State University, Abakaliki. He's also the VP, Ali Igbo Development Foundation, and Secretary, Igbo Leaders of Thought. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, and I appreciate all our teaming viewers who are there watching. Good morning, all.
Yes, thank you so much. Now, first of all, I'd like you to give a bit of historical or foundational context to this Igbo agenda, the roots of how this conversation around the Igbo agenda and the unanswered questions came about in the first place.
Well, if you look at the history of Nigeria, what we call Nigeria today, it was I would say it's at the root of what I prefer to call the Igbo question, not only the agenda, because it is the question, the Igbo question, which is a critical review of the condition of the Igbo man as it concerns the advancement and development of the country, that now raises the question, should we have an agenda? By 1865, 1885-1886, there was an issue that occurred. Some European countries that have never even visited here went to Berlin and decided to partition another person's country, and decided that, look, Germany, you own this place, Britain, you, and petitioned us. What was the petition all about? Imperialism. Going to this place to get all the products, mineral resources here for their own advantage. So they came. While they came, before that time, George Tubman Goldier's Royal Niger Company was already here. It wasn't called Nigeria at the time. And so they decided that they would own here. In 1899, British people decided that what they are going to do was just simple. We are going to come here to take over this region. We had two at the time. People were operating at their levels. There was a protectorate of Lagos. There was Eastern region. There was Northern region, there was Western region. So when they came here, they saw that there are a lot of mineral resources underneath our grounds, the earth crust. So they decided to buy off these areas of influence of the Royal Niger Company, where they had influence. So they bought it at 865,000 pounds. That's the amount they bought, and they started owning Nigeria. Okay, so as it is, they bought it in that 1899. Now they started planning. In 1912, Lord Vernon Harcourt, who Port Harcourt is named after, came here and decided that, look, I'm going to, since there's no much thing in the north in terms of resources, so he decided to tinker on the amalgamation process. This amalgamation thing, nobody talked to you, nobody asked the indigenous people about their position, their view, whether they'd like to start relating with those that they have never related with before. So they decided that what they were going to do was to amalgamate the people. So he used the word marriage, and the North is a vibrant youth who is married to a lady of means from the South. And I'm sure you understand what it means. When you have a lot of means, wealth, and somebody who doesn't have anything is married up to you as a man. And remember that even those days and today, Islam looks at women as chattels, property you can dispose at any time. That if it were in the north, I can see you on the road. If I'm a Muslim, you are my wife. Maybe I can see you and I say, I call you 4 times and say I've divorced you because I've seen another person I want to marry. So they dispense with you as. So that was how Harcourt organized that thing. And well, he was skeptical. Say, well, I pray that this union works. That was his view. And so that's how they started putting up the challenges, the booby traps, in order to continue to control this place. Now, in 1914, I'm still giving the foundation to how we have problem. In 1914, Frederick Lugard came, a very eccentric character, came here and was to now decide on the way that these people have to live together. And the first thing he did was to create very serious demarcation between the whites and the blacks. By the way, nobody should be proud. If we have to be proud about color, it is we, the black people, that should be proud. Because the essence of the color we have is that God gave us melanin that helps you to adjust to these tropics, the tropical area we are in. God gave it to us so that you don't have skin cancer. Once there is sun, the melanin scatters it and we are like this. But they don't have. And they don't have because when they migrated from here to where they are living, it was so cool that they don't need melanin again. So they become white. Me as I am now, if I live for 50 years in Iceland or anywhere that there is no this, I will become white. Because there will be the emphasis on the use of melanin. So he created that as a problem, and they started giving undue advantage to the north. Because in fact, he was magisterial in his view. You want somebody, 2 persons to start living together, you came here and you didn't even consult them. I dare to ask, in the amalgamation treaty, if there were any treaty at all, who signed? Let them show us who signed for us. Nobody did. Okay, so they started gradually, and when things started and continued the way they were doing it, their interest was majorly to take our mineral resources, and I don't blame them too much. They want to survive. If you ever visited Europe during winter, you will see that without us or without some things, they can't survive. I can decide all the time, I may not need to wear anything, but during winter, if you try to visit Europe, you will see why they discovered coal here at that time to be heating up their structures. Most of the buildings in Europe during those days, they have under it where they heat up with our coals.
All right. So
I'm coming.
Yes.
So at the end, there was that ill feeling that they created amongst all the ethnic nationalities that came to live together. And the thing crystallized into what you people regard as civil war, that I regard as genocide against the Igbo between 1967 to 1970. So what transpired during that period up to today created what is known today as the Igbo question in Nigeria. And that's why people are now feeling we should do a new agenda setting on how to survive from this place. You can see that there are 6 geopolitical zones, whatever that means. I know that it is a systematic way of edging our people out, balkanizing the Igbo people, because Igbo people live in 13 states. Yeah, they say 6 geopolitical, and we have only 5 where they feel, but we live in 13 states of Nigeria. And so when they did that balkanization, it became a problem. So one of the things we must interrogate is how to get all the people into one, all the people in the 13 Igbo states to be one. That's the first thing. So Igbo unity, Igbo national integration. If we come together, all of us, we come together, then we will now start thinking on how to survive in this country. And that's why when they are talking about what they call now restructuring, we as a people, especially the Igbo leaders of thought, we have come together to say, look, we must articulate what we have called the Igbo position in a restructuring of Nigeria, and we have done that. And we are insisting that we must reclaim all the Igbo territories, how it used to be, even to Bayelsa, and getting into the coast of the sea, and getting up to Kogi, Benue, where Igbo people still live in those states, marginalized. So I think this is the foundation on which we are having the concern of how do we set the agenda for how to survive in Nigeria. It's all about survival.
All right. Speaking on marginalization and all that, do you think the Igbo nation is duly represented when it comes to politics, inclusion, and all that? And then what is the difference between this, agenda, Abuja, and the homeland? And what is the major priority of the Igbo nation?
I look at, when you use the word marginalization, there are two aspects of it.
Okay.
The first one is, are we marginalizing ourselves in the first instance? Because if you send their first 11 to represent you, nobody can marginalize their first 11. But when circumstances make you to send those who are not even up to their fifth 11 to represent you, they will be feeling, me, you have even allowed me to come to this point. So anything, they become yes people. That's the major thing we have found out. Yeah, I'm sure you people are very young, but by 1999, the Babangida administration had continued to do its endless transition to civil rule, to the extent that by 1999, major Igbo people didn't believe that the army was going to hand over. So the space was left for charlatans who took over. And our people will say that it is not to give the monkey drink, it is to retrieve the cup. Oh. And that's what we have been in. So a lot of those who are representing us are also recruited from outside Igbo land. And so when they do that, you can see that the interest they are going to protect will never be your own interest. So this is the question of marginalization. And so the law is so clear about what we should do. We have the, what do they call it again? But what I'm trying to say is that there is that part of the law that says you must get everything that is due for you. So if you are, every state must have a minister. So federal character, that's what they call it. The federal character law insists that we must have what is due for you. But the question, that's the second leg of the marginalization. The question is, do the Igbo people get it? Okay. I would say that it depends on who is the president, the whims and caprices of the president. Under Obasanjo, we got a lot. Under Jonathan, we got a lot. Again, those people who got it at the time, some of them were unable to sit down to think on how to use it for the people. Sometimes people don't realize that once you get certain positions on behalf of some people, you must think beyond you as a person. So some of our Igbo brothers who got there did not really go beyond that. So they were interested in nesting their own feeders, and so it happened. But during General Muhammad Buhari and this current Tinubu's administration, I don't think we are getting it right. I mean, we are not being represented very well. But I think beyond that, because for me, if somebody tells me you are not going to get this cup, I will keep quiet and strategize on how to get the cup. And I think that's what the Igbo man should be thinking. It's not about being marginalized. It's about how to get out of that challenge of what you call marginalization. Because this is politics, and what people are doing is trying to survive. Every ethnic nationality is trying to survive. And you keep creating those things that will help you to survive. So Igbo must set means of survival. I keep saying that the younger generation feel we are over traumatized in Nigeria, and therefore they think that the only thing we should do is to leave the country. That's why the agitation, this renewed Biafran agitation, is terrible. It's just simply like that. If people are getting what is due for them, you will see that nobody wants to actually live in that sense. But when you are not allowed, when you are not accepted as part of a country you are in, so why will you keep staying there? So for me, it is in two folds. The first fold is we must restructure Nigeria in such a way that each ethnic nationality must, I say must control its own affairs, including its own police, its own army, its own virtually everything. Then we have and you control your resources. You can't be shouting resource control, because a lot of people think any state, any region that is not viable should start relating with others and such. I'm sure that in Igbo we are very, very viable, you know. So, and when you talk of that kind of thing, so we must start first of all by that level of restructuring. I think we might have time some other periods to discuss the issue of this phase of restructuring and what actually we want as Igbo people, so that we'll be able to get ourselves in Nigeria. Then the second aspect of it is, if the thing doesn't work and if people say we won't be in Nigeria, then we will go. But the first thing is that we must make this place workable for all of us. And it is by doing things, it was John Rawls who will define, who will look at justice as fairness.
Okay.
So we will define what is fairness for our people, because what is fairness for you might not be for me.
Yes.
So we all sit on the same table and discuss. So if we discuss what we look at as fairness, then we will go. All of us will have this cup. And you are saying you will give me just this more. Well, it is when we come, we decide and say, well, I don't even want this side. Let us share it equally. And if we agree on the modalities of sharing, there will be peace. But if I feel that I will stay on my own and decide whatever I want to decide, there must continue to be agitations. And so that's why it's not only Igbo that are agitated. Look at the heinous things going on in Cleveland, in Benue State. Every day, you will see somebody, they will bury over 300 people one day, and these are killed by terrorists. And government will pretend as if they are not seeing those things. So
all right,
I
Prof.
wonder why.
Yes, there are a lot of things to unpack here. But now, looking at these unanswered questions and narrowing it down to the issue of Abuja versus the homeland. Now, many Igbo elites, operate politically and economically from these larger cities like Abuja, while we have in the grassroots, in the southeast, the realities here are issues of insecurity, and even in some areas we still have issues of underdevelopment. So I'd like to know, why does this gap exist between Igbo political presence in Abuja and actual development in the homeland? Would you say that the Igbo political elite have failed in bridging this gap?
My first way of responding is, who are the Igbo political elites? So if we understand who they are, is it that when you are a contractor in Abuja, you have become an Igbo political elite? Is it when you have been a minister, you have held some large positions, you become an elite? So the first problem is defining who an elite is politically. I don't think that we're getting it right completely, because those who live in Abuja, who are politicking, who are contracting in Abuja, might be a little bit drawn afar from us down here. But be that as it may, what I think, I don't want to belabor us on that part, but what I think we should do is to make comparisons about how others fare in their own. One basic thing is that if we are practicing a democracy, and I'm sure that I'm in the National Assembly and I'm not representing very well, my people have the capacity to remove me. Why not? Why will I not do well? But here we have seen it, I don't want to mention anybody's name, but we have seen it here that we do not matter in terms of voting. I know Stalin told his followers, Stalin those days, he told his followers, he said, look, those who vote do not matter. It's those who count the votes. And whether you like it or not, if I get those, and Nigeria again today, we have had what I would call the dictatorship of the judiciary. Once you finish the voting palaver, it turns to the judiciary. And once the judges declare you, they can decide to torpedo what all of us voted. We are about, how many are we here? We are about 10 of us or 9 here. And maybe 7 of us have decided to vote for you to be our leader. The remaining other 2 may go to the court, and by one technical reason or the other, the court will say that it is the other 2. So tomorrow, why do you waste your time to get to us, to interact with us in a way that we will have the... I think that's exactly my own response to the issue of the Abuja politicians and the Igbo Homeland. Until we're able to determine who rules us by vote, we may continue to have that problem. That's the way I look at it.
All right. Speaking of the Igbo land, we know that the Southeast has actually experienced a whole lot of issues. For example, the sit-at-home saga. And up till now, we want to understand why this sit-at-home. What is the major root cause of this thing? Because it brings fear, it brings insecurity, it brings phobia. So far, what do you think is the economic impact of it, and who is accountable for the violence that this issue has actually caused?
Well, the sit-at-home issue, the first question should be, why the sit-at-home?
Yes.
There are many ways that people do their things. There are many ways people show resentment to what is not right for them. If you have a little baby that is not even up to 6 months, if you do anything that is funny to that baby can decide to cry, usually cry to disturb you. So there are many ways of resentment to injustice. Nnamdi Kanu was arrested for fighting for the emancipation of Igbo. And we have seen a lot of other things that have been happening in other places. There are, the IPOB under Nnamdi Kanu never used arms. They were going out with placards and all those things, and the soldiers were killing them with police. And people said, stop going out, or they will continue to kill you people. And then they arrested him. They renditioned him. I don't want to discuss his matter because it is sub judice, but I'm making reference to what caused the thing. So when they renditioned him, which even the Kenyan court has said is illegal, the Kenyan court has made pronunciation that the renditioning was illegal. And so he came here. They are not doing the trial as it's supposed to be, and so they decided, his followers decided to say, resist these people, resent, stay in their homes and do not come out, because if we come out, they will kill us. If you stay in the homes, nobody will kill you. The thing started as a way of solidarizing with him. So that every Monday people will know that there is somebody they have arrested that is somewhere because of the interest of the people. Did we manage that thing very well as a people, as a government in Southeast? Did we manage it well? No, we didn't. Because there's a way, you can't beat somebody and say, do not cry. It's not done anywhere. So I think that the major problem with it, yeah, there's no doubt that there's a lot of economic implications for it. But what is more important is management of the situation. We didn't manage it well. And I don't think that the governments are ready to manage it well. And from that point, my own assessment is that there are upsurge of a lot of non-state actors, whether they are IPOB or they are not. So a lot of people have died in Southeast resulting from the reactions of the government on this sit-at-2. So I think that that is where the issue lies, not necessarily the economic implications of it. We didn't manage it well as a government, both at the federal and at the state. And therefore, when you see such a thing, there must be continuous trouble arising from it. That's my view.
All right, before we go, I would like you to highlight at least two, what you think the role of traditional Igbo institutions should play, forging ahead or getting a unified political path.
Traditional Igbo institution. Do we still have purely aboriginal traditional institutions? That's the first thing. I believe in Igbo traditional institution, but it has been watered down so much. All we are doing is trying to see how we can rebuild it in order to reflect the existential realities of our time. But I can tell you that when these things are properly done, why not? It will have a lot of implications of how to control these challenges. If it were when people had monolithic religious, well, the Igbo people are not religious, we are spiritual, we are not religious, because the difference to me between religiosity and spirituality is that for the religious man, he goes out every day to obey and observe his oblations. I'm going to pray 5 times a day, I'll do it. But spiritually, a spiritual person will do those things even when he's eating, even when he's sleeping, he lives out his belief. So if it were those days that people believe in these spiritual aspects of life, I will not come and do those things that are antisocial.
All right.
So that is what I can say about that.
All right. Thank you so much, Professor Chidozie Chukwuokolo.
Chidozie, not
okay.
Chidozie.
Chidozie Chukwuokolo. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And that is where we draw the line on that conversation on the Igbo agenda, the unanswered questions of Abuja versus Homeland. Thank you for staying with us. Now we'll be handing over to Luke Umbo for political circle, and after that we'll be handing over to Abuja studios where the conversation continues. Do stay with us.
With a population of about 36 million people, the Southeast is awash with stories. Every day on Southeast News, we tell the peculiar story of the Southeast and her people.
Our Southeast should be the Silicon Valley of Nigeria.
Their successes, achievements, and daily challenges. Do you have a Southeast story to share? Community achievements and challenges, completed and uncompleted projects, bad roads, water scarcity, erosion, flooding, insecurity, or even disagreements? Bring it on to Southeast News. On Southeast News, no story is too big or too small. Southeast News. Let's tell our story. Showing on Signature TV every weekday at 4 p.m. WAT, 1600 hours GMT.
We are local.
International communities observing
Why the main market is in chaos. People
We are national.
Those in support support of this motion as amended, say aye. Aye.
We have taken the vote by default.
We are international.
Israeli airstrikes.
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment.
Signature TV, news in your pocket.